Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're tracking a highly pressurized storm brewing right in the US stock market, one that could honestly take a direct hit on your savings and 401k. Think of us as financial meteorologists mapping out a hurricane before it actually makes landfall. We're going to look way past the daily news cycle and dig deep into the actual plumbing of our financial system to see what's really building up out of sight.
We're starting with a massive core thesis from researcher, inventor, and author Kevin L. Brown. He's modeled a huge systemic event that's basically hurtling toward our financial grid. According to his research, the market is heading straight for what he calls a major liquidity phase transition. Simply put, a phase transition is when a system changes its state entirely, like water turning into ice. And when that happens in a market, well, it changes absolutely everything.
So here's how we're going to break this forecast down today. First, the hidden market problem. Then we'll measure the pressure index, map out the 2026 forecast timelines, look at the real-world implications, and finally, go over exactly how to prove this forecast wrong. Let's get right into it.
All right, Section 1, the hidden market problem. To really see what's going on, we need the right lens. We're using a scientific framework called Triune Harmonic Dynamics, or THD. This was created by Kevin L. Brown specifically to track the invisible stress and pressure that builds up inside super-complex systems, like the U.S. equities market. It tracks how strain just keeps accumulating over time before it inevitably snaps. Think of it like a giant pressure cooker. Up on the surface, everything looks totally calm and strong. The major indexes are sitting at historic highs, right? But underneath, the structural market is quietly cracking. The actual depth of cash reserves is getting dangerously thin, and the foundation is incredibly fragile. So the outside looks totally solid, but the inside is pretty much hollowed out.
Now, you might be wondering, why is it so fragile? Well, it's caused by what Brown calls an algorithmic monoculture. Get this, over 85% of trading volume today is run by computers that are all programmed to make the exact same moves at the exact same time. There's literally no diversity of thought. It's like thousands of robots following a single command. When a shock hits, they're all going to rush for the exact same tiny exit, all at once.
Moving on to Section 2, measuring the pressure index. So, where do we stand right now? The current THD structural pressure index is sitting at a dangerously high 58 out of 80. In this scientific framework, a score over 51 means our financial system is firmly in the late pressure phase. Basically, we're way past the warming signs. The tension is actively seeking a release. And when you look at what's actually driving that high score, it's pretty alarming. First off, pressure intensity sits at a 9 out of 10. That means a massive amount of cash is dangerously clustered into just a handful of top stocks. Next is signal divergence, also a 9, which is that massive gap between the calm surface and the rotting foundation we just talked about. And finally, the verification gap is an 8. That means the market's own built-in warning alarms are totally broken. They just aren't seeing the danger. Here's the real vulnerability. When that pressure finally hits its peak, those automated systems have a massive built-in flaw. They literally can't process data during extreme, sudden shocks. To protect themselves, they're programmed to just turn off. And when they do, they instantly pull their cash supply right out of the market. This creates a sudden, violent price vacuum because there's just no money left to trade with. Okay, Section 3, the 2026 forecast timelines.
So when is this storm actually expected to hit? Kevin L. Brown's code-verified harmonic calendar gives us a highly specific danger zone. The broad impact period for the U.S. equities market release event 2026 hits between August and November of 2026, but the absolute most severe risks cluster into two tight windows, window alpha in late August and window gamma in mid-November. Oh, and there's also an elevated sensitivity zone lurking in late October.
But hey, we won't be flying totally blind here. Just like tracking the outer bands of a hurricane, we're going to see some really clear warning signs. Expect minor trading glitches and breakdowns 3 to 5 days before impact. Then, just 48 hours prior, a massive spike in the market's ultimate fear gauge, the VIX, will shoot up over 24 points. And finally, keep an eye out for sudden, completely unusual spikes in the cost for banks to borrow money behind the scenes.
Section 4. Real-world market implications.
So, what does this actually look like when it makes landfall? The forecast breaks it down into 3 potential paths. The base scenario features a sharp 12 to 15% drop over just 3 days. Then there's the acceleration scenario, which is way more severe. In that one, the market plummets over 20%, completely freezes up, wipes out trillions in wealth, and forces central banks to basically print cash on the spot. Or we could see the containment scenario, where regulators step in and just pull the plug, halting trading entirely to lock the market down.
No matter which scenario plays out, the dam most likely to break is the Central Counterparty Networks, or CCPs. Think of them as the massive middlemen that guarantee every single trade out there. If multiple high-speed trading firms go bankrupt at the exact same time, those middlemen get completely overwhelmed. What starts as a simple cash shortage instantly becomes a catastrophic failure of the market's core plumbing.
Which brings us to Section 5, how to prove this wrong.
A true scientific forecast has to tell you exactly how it can be proven wrong, right? Well, Kevin L. Brown outlines these parameters perfectly. The storm will safely dissipate if one of three things happens. First, if that structural pressure index organically cools down and drops below 30. Second, if the 2026 timeline windows pass peacefully and the VIX fear gauge stays totally flat. Or third, if central banks manually intervene and pump over $2 trillion into the financial system before August 2026, which would artificially reset the clock.
To wrap things up, this explainer leaves us with one incredibly critical, highly provocative thought to chew on. If this structural pressure finally breaks exactly as forecasted, and the automated machines all try to sell their assets at the exact same millisecond, who exactly is left to catch the fall? Keep a close eye on those warning signs, guys. Thanks for joining me today to unpack this completely fascinating triune harmonic dynamics forecast for the U.S. equities market release event 2026.